Here's more wrestling news for December 25th, 2021. And your headlines for this afternoon include: Drew McIntyre says it's only a matter of time before he faces Cesaro, big change in plans for Randy Orton and Riddle, AEW star to write new Marvel Comics project, 2 former WWE stars returning to Impact Wrestling, WWE match reportedly needed heavy editing before making it to TV, please stop ignoring my calls, Ronda Rousey sends a message to current WWE superstar, current status of Kenny Omega's AEW return, Conti sends message after Sammy Guevara rumors, Bronson criticizes NXT 2.0 for being just another WWE product, and more. We are starting off today with Cesaro, who is one of the most criminally underrated wrestlers in WWE today. Even Mick Foley has said he would get on his knees and beg Vince McMahon to give Cesaro a better chance in the company, as fans and Foley alike hold out hope for a Cesaro world title win. Earlier this month, Cesaro challenged Drew McIntyre to a first-ever match between the two WWE veterans, and while speaking to Bleacher Report, the Scottish Warrior said that the match would inevitably happen. Cesaro is definitely on my list. I have to mention him any chance I get, and the fact we haven't faced each other considering we've been on the same rosters over the years, I think it's only a matter of time before that match happens. Right now, McIntyre is in a feud with Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss, while Cesaro has been facing the likes of Sheamus and Ridge Holland, but perhaps 2022 will be the year the Scottish Warrior and the Swiss Cyborg finally face off. Over to Raw, as the recent Bronament tournament was meant to determine the next challengers for RK Bro, but the finals are yet to happen. The finals, which were meant to see the Street Profits face the Mysterios, has been postponed because Montez Ford can't compete, and now we know what WWE initially had planned. In the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it was reported that the tournament winners were meant to face RK Bro for the Raw Tag Team titles at Day 1 before the Profits Mysterios match was postponed. After the match was called off on the December 13th Raw, it was announced for the December 27th show instead, but the Observer adds that when they asked WWE, they were told it's unclear if the match will happen. This Monday's Raw will be the last Raw before Day 1, so if the match doesn't go ahead, WWE will have to think of something else for the reigning Raw Tag Team Champions. AEW news now, as Nyla Rose has proven herself in the company, but the former Women's World Champion is now entering the world of Marvel Comics. This week, Marvel announced that Rose will team with writer Steve Orlando and artist David Cutler for the giant-size X-Men Thunderbird comic, which is set to release on April 27th next year. This will mark Rose's first comic book project, as well as the resurrection of Thunderbird, aka John Proudstar, who was the first X-Man to be killed in action. On Twitter, Rose called the comic one of her awesome side projects, and we'll have to see if Rose gets any more comic work after Thunderbird #1 hits shelves next year. When Ring of Honor went on a hiatus following this month's Final Battle pay-per-view, several wrestlers were released from their contracts, including Mike Bennett and Maria Kanellis. Neither Mike nor his wife have appeared elsewhere since ROH closed their doors, but they could soon be back on screens in a very different company. In The Observer, Meltzer reported that the pair are expected to return to Impact Wrestling very soon, which could be as soon as January. Bennett recently pulled out of an independent show next month, and when asked, the promotion stated it was due to a scheduling conflict with Impact Wrestling. ROH has always insisted that their hiatus will be temporary and that they plan to return by April next year, but the Bennetts aren't going to wait around until April before they find work elsewhere. On the December 17th edition of 205 Live, Lash Legend competed in her second televised match, losing to Sarray. This match came just 1 week after Legend's in-ring debut against Amari Miller, but things aren't working out for Legend. The match with Sarray had been widely criticized as one of the worst matches WWE has put on TV in quite some time, and even getting the match televised proved to be an ordeal. According to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, the match was one of the most heavily edited bouts in recent history and was described as 3 minutes of highlights from the atrocious match. Even these highlights have received universal criticism from fans, and the Observer adds that Legend is being blamed for the match. Before entering WWE, Legend was a basketball star and played for the WNBA, and WWE put her with Sarray, one of the most gifted wrestlers in NXT 2.0. Perhaps Lash Legend will improve when she gets more matches under her belt, but her WWE career is already in jeopardy after this awful start. This week, Natalya earned her third Guinness World Record, as she now has the most victories of any female WWE superstar. This accolade is the latest for the third-generation wrestler, who also boasts the most matches of any female superstar and the most pay-per-view appearances too. In her statement on the matter, the former SmackDown Women's Champion spoke about a discussion she had with Ronda Rousey, and when the Hot Rod pointed out a mistake Natalya had made, the three-time world record holder stopped speaking to the former Raw Women's Champion. On Twitter, Rousey has now responded, as in a tweet, she congratulated Natalya on her latest achievement and asked the Queen of Hearts to stop ignoring her calls. Fans haven't seen Rousey since her WrestleMania 35 loss to Becky Lynch, her one and only loss in WWE, and we'll just have to see if 2022 marks the return of the Hot Rod and whether she'll enter the ring with the three-time Guinness World Record holder. At Full Gear, Kenny Omega lost the AEW World Championship to Hangman Adam Page in a match he really shouldn't have been in the first place. Not too long after his loss, it was reported that Omega had been putting off a series of surgeries for quite some time and only agreed to take some time off now that his program with Page was over. It's been a month and a half since Omega's last appearance in AEW, and we shouldn't be expecting to see him soon. In the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer noted that there is no timetable for Omega's return at the moment, but that the former world champion will have to continue healing up from his much overdue surgeries. Fortunately for AEW, they have a stacked roster, and even without Omega and Jon Moxley, the AEW World title is being prominently featured in the current feud between Page and Bryan Danielson. Going into Full Gear, Omega was already dealing with vertigo and a wrecked shoulder, and the cleaner has definitely earned some time off after his near-year-long run on top of AEW. When Sammy Guevara announced that he and his fiancée Pam were no longer together, some fans acted incredibly inappropriately, accusing Conti of breaking the couple up. This got so bad that Conti removed herself from Twitter, but her Instagram is still active, which allowed the Brazilian wrestler to send a message to her haters this week. Sharing a picture of her smiling in the ring, Conti included the caption, "Can't kill my happiness," making it clear that she won't let those accusing her get her down. This attention online won't affect her status on the AEW roster, as she's still very much a contender and fan favorite on their women's division, and we're pleased to see she's doing well, despite some trolls speculating on a matter they know little to nothing about. And we're ending with NXT 2.0, WWE's revamp of the fan-favorite brand, which brought about significant changes when the relaunch happened in September. One major change to the show was the release of several superstars who WWE believed didn't fit in with NXT 2.0, including Bronson Reed. Now going by Jonah, the former North American champion has competed elsewhere since his release, and in an interview with Busted Open Radio this week, blasted NXT 2.0 as a generic product. You know, a couple of years ago when NXT got that USA deal, Hunter sat us all down and said how we are this third brand. I think there was that camaraderie backstage that we wanted to make this show as special as possible. It was the wrestling show. We still got freedom and stuff like that on Wednesdays. Now, it seems a little bit, and again, I'm not going to diss anyone that's on NXT 2.0, I still have friends there, but it is very much just another WWE product. It doesn't feel like something different for them. Making his debut for New Japan last month, Jonah has also been announced for next month's Battle of Los Angeles. Although he apparently didn't fit in with NXT 2.0, the Australian wrestler is having no problem finding other promotions that have room for him. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.